Good morning. And welcome to our multi-platform worship service. I am the Reverend Dr. Elizabeth Stevens, and I am lucky enough to serve this congregation as its minister. I'd like to extend a special welcome to anyone who's here worshiping with us for the first time. We're so very glad you're here. If you've come in person, hopefully you got a welcome packet when you arrived. If not, they're on the welcome tables by the doors. It's got a card in it, and if you fill out the card and drop it off with somebody, we'll be in touch with any information to answer any questions you have. In the meantime, you should know that we typically have coffee and treats after the service downstairs in our fellowship hall. Now, if you're joining us online, there's a link on our website to an electronic version of our newcomer card. And we do host a virtual coffee hour after the service if there's any interest. Sometimes people are done with screens, but if you stay on at the end of the service, we can see if there's anybody who wants to visit. I invite you now to say these words of welcome along with me. Welcome to you, old friends and new, young and old. You are an essential part of our celebration today. Whether today is your first or your 1000th Sunday in our midst, we are stronger because you are with us. We are one people of many beliefs, identities, origins, sexualities, and genders. We are all growing, all learning, all loved. Body, mind, heart, and spirit, just as you are welcome here.
I'm Ginger Yoder, the Director of Family Ministries, and I'm going to be helping with the service with Elizabeth today. And now we're going to take a moment to say hello across the technical divide. First, we're going to show the people joining us on Zoom. And if you're at home, please turn on your camera and wave. Now, people who are attending the service in our building, it's your turn to wave to those across the screen. And I do have a few announcements this morning. For those of you here in the building, you should have picked up a pronoun ribbon to add to your name tag on the way in. Apparently, I need to remember to do a name tag and the pronoun. I don't even have something to show you. But they can add to your name tag on your way in. We're hoping that everyone will use one from here on out. We know that trans and non-binary folk feel safer and more comfortable in community when it's a standard practice for everyone to identify pronouns. So we're making it simple and easy. If you don't have a ribbon, go feel free to grab one now or after the service. And if you're online, it should be easy to add your pronouns to your name by clicking on the 3 dots by your picture and choosing rename. We're happy to report that masks are not required, but certainly encouraged if they help you, because Whitman and Latah County are still in the green zone for COVID rates and impacts. This means we can sing together today. And if you'd like to know more about our church policy on COVID precautions, it's found on the UUCP website. And that is the end of our announcements.
Good morning. My name is Ryan Urey, and I'm also with Family Ministries, name tag and the green label Ginger was referring to. We preface our service by acknowledging that the land on which our homes and church were built was not uninhabited when European settlers arrived here with their ideas of conquest and ownership. For those of us who live in Moscow, Pullman, or other nearby communities, we live on the ancestral homelands of the Nimipu, called Nez Perce by the French-speaking traders, the Palouse, and the Chichumch, called the Coeur d'Alene. If you are joining us from another place, I would encourage you to discover who inhabited or moved through the place where you now live in the times before colonization and genocide, and where they are now. We pause and remember that we live on ground that is sacred, ground that was stolen, ground that cries out for justice and responsible stewardship. May our remembering help us find the courage to do our part to restore wholeness to the earth and all her peoples. We now pause for just a moment to light a candle and pray for peace. Wait a moment for our candle lighter. We hold in our hearts all those currently threatened by greed, violence, and imperialism, from the people in Ukraine to those in Somalia. May we recommit ourselves to nurturing peace, peace in the world, and peace within. We also light a second special candle today for Ralph Nielsen, one of our older members of the church. He entered hospice yesterday and is expected to pass quickly. Lastly, we are going to light our chalice together. We hope that folks joining us on Zoom have a chalice or a candle to light and something to light it with. Let us all now light our chalices together. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek and seek to share.
Please be seated. And we're going to do my favorite game. Please repeat after me. It is good. It is good. It is good to be. It is good to be here. It is good to be here together. This morning is a very special Sunday for us. It is our annual ingathering and water communion ceremony. The first water communion occurred at a Women in Religion conference in 1980. Gathering in East Lansing, Michigan, all of the women who attended were invited to bring a small container of water from their home. The earthenware bowl in the center of the circle soon held water from both oceans, many of the rivers that crisscross our continent, the Great Lakes, and more. And it symbolized the way the conference participants had come together to create one beloved community. Here at the UUCP, we celebrate water communion as we regather each autumn in honor of all the ways we come together to create beloved community. Each of us brings unique gifts, perspectives, and stories, and then we mix and mingle and somehow become something that is more than the sum of its parts. This year, we're going to add some additional elements, some earth or stones, and some fire. These are challenging times, and it feels important to be in touch with all of the ways that we support one another in community, sharing our gifts of inner strength, inner peace, and resilience. So come, let us worship together, and we begin with song.
Thank you so much, Sam and the choir. That was wonderful. I don't know if everyone could see, but some of our youngest members very enthusiastically approved. So very well done. So now we'll introduce our water ritual for today. As the climate changes, the ice caps are melting and the water level is going up. Each year in the spring, we see local rivers and creeks flooding over their banks. Meanwhile, bigger, more destructive storms hammer the coasts, and though the ocean waves won't reach us here on the Palouse, we'll still feel the repercussions. We can expect to welcome refugees seeking safe ground and to feel financial and practical repercussions. Some of us have friends or relatives living in those places. We are all interconnected. Metaphorically, there are other waters rising that might cause us anxiety or worry. I think about the widening divide between the rich and the poor, the unsustainable increases in housing prices, the crisis in healthcare. All around, we see evidence that the systems meant to support life and well-being are overwhelmed and underwater. When I think about facing these things by myself, I feel quickly overwhelmed, likely to drown. But then I remember I'm not alone. I'm part of a community, and together we'll find our way through. We will build boats. We will teach one another to swim. We will take turns paddling and resting. We each have gifts of resilience and reassurance to offer. We all will have times when we need to receive those gifts. Our water communion this year will invite us to focus on pooling our gifts in a common vessel.
There are more waters rising, this I know, this I know. There are more waters rising, this I know. There are more waters rising, they will find their way to me. There are more waters rising, this I know, this I know. There are more waters rising, this I know. To symbolize the rising water, Ginger is going to lead us through making a rainstorm.
I wonder who has done this before, how we can create a rainstorm right here with our own bodies. So I'm going to invite, if you feel comfortable, to stand, get grounded in your feet, and imagine the skies getting covered with deep, dark clouds, heavy with rain, like we have not had in many, many, many months. So we'll start with just the trickle. Slowly. Thank you. You can be seated. So I wonder how that felt in your body. I noticed that as the storm got louder and louder, I got more and more excited. And then as it passed, I felt this calming, this deep sense of calm in my body and a sense of release. I wonder what gives you a sense of peace and relief. What makes you feel easy and safe in your body? We are called to return to peace, to cultivate peace in our hearts, and to speak and act in ways that promote peace in the world.
With that in mind, we'll begin our water communion ceremony. I'm going to ask Ginger to start by pouring just a little bit of water from last year's water communion into our vessel, acknowledging our past, our ancestors, and all the things we've learned already about weathering storms and floods. And we're going to sing meditation on breathing. And as we do that, I'd invite you to form two lines, and you're going to pour a little bit of water. So how many of you brought water? Okay, so you either pour just a little bit of the water you brought, or if you didn't bring water, we have some pitchers with extra water. And one of the great things about water is that because molecules are recycled and reused all over the world, it can be from wherever you need it to be. So we're going to form two lines. Those of you in the balcony have your own vessel. So you can use that. And then once everybody up there has poured into the vessel, if somebody could bring it. Nix, are you willing to bring once everybody's poured, to bring it down and pour it into the big vessel down here? Awesome, thank you. So we're going to sing together. Meditation on breathing while we do this. And those of you joining from home, while you're watching the water communion, I invite you to get a glass of water and just take a sip and then exhale. sending some of the water molecules our way, and knowing that there may already be some molecules that used to be a part of you in our common bowl. And as we pour the water, let's reflect on the wisdom, resilience, and reassurances that we have to offer. Let us bring to mind the places and practices that help us cultivate a sense of inner peace. And again, let's sing meditation on breathing. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe when I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. This community exists to help us feel safe and supported, even in the face of anxiety. So if you start to feel worried or scared, I invite you to remember what it felt like to be in this room with that music playing, floating in soft water, warm water, water collected by the people in this room and placed in a container big enough to hold all of you just as you are. May the water soothe your spirit and help you feel at ease. If worrisome waters are rising, so are we, and with us, the waters of compassion, companionship, and deep acceptance. May they flood in to soothe our weary souls. We will wade through the waters, this I know, this I know. We will wade through the waters, this I know. We will wade through the waters when they find their way to us. We will wade through the waters, this I know, this I know. We will wade through the waters, this I know.
Now let's take a moment to engage in the practice of generosity together. For those of you able to make a financial contribution, the logistics are on your screen if you're at home, or we will pass around our offering basket. For those who are newer or visiting from another part of the country may not be aware that we give away all of the cash from our Sunday offerings to local charities whose missions align with our values, a program we call the Month of Sundays. This month, the recipient is Circles of Care Adult Day Health, a local organization that makes it possible for adults living with dementia and chronic illness to be successful, safe, and surrounded by family and friends, providing a unique day program that provides a safe, caring, and nurturing atmosphere for adults and elders. If you're donating online, you can choose Month of Sundays from the drop-down menu. If you're mailing, dropping off a check, or putting one in the offering basket, simply indicate in the memo line whether it's intended for the Month of Sundays or our general fund. In the spirit of love and for the continuing work of this church, we will now take some time to practice generosity together.
There are more fires burning, this we know, this I know. There are more fires burning, this I know. There are more fires burning, they will find their way to me. There are more fires burning, this I know, this I know. There are more fires burning, this I know. Literally, there are more fires burning. This is why we get up in the morning and we check the air quality index. In addition to the actual fires, it can sometimes feel like we're seeing kindness and civility going up in flames, as evidenced by the increase in hate crimes, the continued persecution of our LGBTQIA+ siblings, the pervasiveness of systemic racism, the epidemic of gun violence, and this political divide that has widened to the point where our democracy is threatened. It's hard sometimes to be brave by myself, but this isn't a time when we can be quiet. The world is on fire, and the only way forward is through. Being part of this community helps us to be courageous and fierce as we embody our values of kindness, compassion, and justice.
I'd like to invite you to close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, if that feels good for your body. Now, imagine a spark of light glowing at your center, warming and radiating up your spine, down your arms, down your legs. Feel this light flowing through you, burning away your fears, leaving you feeling strong and powerful and energized. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are called to be brave and to make sure that our lights of love, kindness, and compassion outshine those fires of hate and division so that everyone can find their way home. We're going to pass the flame now to remind ourselves that should our personal spark of courage gutter and go out, it only takes a single friend to rekindle our flame. As we pass the flame, let's sing, "I Know This Rose Will Open."
This rose will open. I know my fears will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fears will burn away. I know my soul walk through the fire with you and for you. You make me braver, and together we can face whatever comes. Let's blow out our candles, but keep the spark burning inside. Please be seated. We're all about choice here, Alora. You are allowed to be stubborn. There are more mountains falling, this I know, this I know. There are more mountains falling, this I know. There are more mountains falling and will find their way to me. There are more mountains falling, this I know, this I know. There are more mountains falling, this I know. So we could talk about mudslides, about avalanches and earthquakes, but here the metaphor is most poignant. The institutions meant to keep people safe and civilized seem to be crumbling right and left. Capitalism, the carbon-based economy, there are attacks on the education system and the judicial system, on basic human rights, on women's rights. And it's easy to feel afraid. I know I sometimes feel tempted to go off grid, to make a little homestead off far away from everywhere, just to keep me and my closest beloveds safe. But the truth of it is, none of us have the resources to survive and thrive alone. Rather, as the mountains are crumbling, our work is to rebuild new systems and institutions, ones that are more just, more equitable, and more sustainable. We need to rebuild a culture of community care. We need to rebuild local food and water systems that don't depend on items being shipped in from all over the world. We need to rebuild support for education. We've already started in Idaho with the success of Reclaim Idaho's latest initiative. I also see hope in the way libraries are offering free access to banned books, and in the way so many educators are just quietly going about the work of raising informed citizens, refusing to be bullied by the extremists.
It's hard work, and we will need to be strong. So let's get in touch with our inner strength. We have another body ritual. So if it feels okay, I invite you to stand up and put your feet about hip width apart. Feel grounded. Rock back and forth. Weight on the toes and then the heels. Toes and heels until you find the center. Now shift side to side and find your center. Equal weight on both feet. Pull your belly button in towards your spine. Use those muscles that help support the very stability of your body. Roll your shoulders up toward your ears, then back down your spine. Let your arms rest at your sides, palms forward. Close your eyes if that feels okay. Feel the strength flowing up through your feet, into your body, into your heart and your spirit. Remember, we each have the capacity to center down, to be strong and unshakable. We have the right to set boundaries and the responsibility to do what we can to work for justice. We are called to do what we can to rebuild a solid foundation for the generations to come. Now open your eyes. We have another ritual. There are tables in the back of the sanctuary, two that mimic the ones in front, and then one up top in the loft. And on these tables are stones and markers. And we'd like you to take a moment and reflect on the gift you have to offer in this work of rebuilding. What qualities of personality or spirit can you offer up to the building of a world that is worthy of our children? What grounds you? What do you have to give? After you write your gift on a stone, leave it on the table and take one that already has something written on it to keep. You can slide it into your pocket as a reminder that none of this we have to do alone. You can both give and receive.
While we do this, we're going to sing Dona Nobis Pacem. Go ahead and. I know there are people still finishing up in the back, but that's okay. We will rebuild the mountains, this I know, this I know. We will rebuild the mountains, this I know. We will rebuild mountains when they find their way to me. They will rebuild the mountains, this I know, this I know. We will rebuild the mountains, this I know. So when you feel anxious or alone or afraid, remember it's as simple as this, as breath, as a stone, as a sip of water, as a tiny spark. Everything we need to get through whatever we need to get through is already within us and among us. There's so much strength and resilience and wisdom in this room. It lives and thrives in this community. So remember. Let's all take a deep breath. And our closing hymn is really fun. This is We Come from the Mountain. We have some percussion instruments if people want to try. It's kind of slow, slow, quick, quick, slow, slow, quick, quick, right? And it's We Come from the Mountain. It's the last book in the Teal hymnal if you know how to read music. And if you don't know how to read music, just follow the screens and go with it.
That was really fun. Thank you, Elizabeth. I love that instrument. What is it called, Sam? The cajon. You actually sit on it as you play. Our closing reading is by Clarissa Pincola Estes. And we've actually used these words for many water communion. They feel very ever more fitting. My friends, do not lose heart. We were made for these times. I have heard from so many recently who are deeply and profoundly and properly bewildered. They are concerned about the state of affairs in our world now. Ours is a time of almost daily astonishment and often righteous rage over the latest degradations of what it matters most to civilized, visionary people.
You are right in your assessments. The luster and hubris some have aspired to while endorsing acts so heinous against children, elders, everyday people, the poor, the unguarded, the helpless, is breathtaking. Yet I urge you, ask you, gentle you, to please not spend your spirit dry by bewailing these difficult times. Especially do not lose hope, most particularly because the fact is that we were made for these times. Yes, for years we have been learning, practicing, been in training for, and just waiting to meet on this exact plane of engagement.
I grew up on the Great Lakes and recognize a seaworthy vessel when I see one. Regarding awakened souls, there have never been more able vessels in the water than there are right now across the world. And they are fully provisioned and able to signal one another as never before in the history of humankind.
Look around this room. There are such fine souls on the waters with you. Even though your veneers may shiver from every wave in this stormy royal, I assure you that the long timbers composing your prow and rudder come from a greater forest. That long-grained lumber is known to withstand storms, to hold together, to hold its own, and to advance regardless.
In any dark time, there's a tendency to veer towards fainting over how much is wrong or unmended in the world. Do not focus on that. There's a tendency too to fall into being weakened by dwelling on what is outside your reach, by what cannot yet be. Do not focus there. That is spending the wind without raising the sails.
We are needed. That is all we can know. And though we meet resistance, we more so will meet great souls who will hail us, love us, and guide us, and we will know them when they appear.
Ours is not the task of fixing the entire world all at once, but of stretching out to mend the part of the world that is within our reach. Any small, calm thing that one soul can do to help another soul, to assist in some portion of this poor, suffering world, will help immensely. It is not given to us to know which acts or by whom will cause the critical mass to tip towards an enduring good.
What is needed for dramatic change is an accumulation of acts, adding to, adding more, continuing. We know that it does not take everyone on earth to bring justice and peace, but only a small, determined group who will not give up during the first, second, or 100th gale.
One of the most calming and powerful actions you can do to intervene in a stormy world is to stand up and show your soul. Soul on deck shines like gold in dark times. The light of the soul throws sparks, can send up flares, builds signal fires, causes proper matters to catch fire. To display the lantern of soul in shadowy times like these, to be fierce and to show mercy towards others, both are acts of immense bravery and of greatest necessity.
Struggling souls catch light from other souls who are fully lit and willing to show it. If you would help to calm the tumult, this is one of the strongest things that you can do.
There will always be times when you feel discouraged. I too have felt despair many times in my life, but I do not keep a chair for it. I will not entertain it. It is not allowed to eat from my plate.
The reason is this: in my uttermost bones, I know something, as do you. It is that there can be no despair when you remember why you came to earth and what you chose to serve. The good words we say and the good deeds we do are not ours. They are the words and deeds of the love who brought us here. In that spirit, I hope you will write this on your wall. When a great ship is in harbor and moored, it is safe, there can be no doubt. But that is not what great ships are built for. Now let us sing There Is a Love.
Please join me in the words to extinguish our chalice. Can someone go extinguish the chalice? We extinguish this chalice that it might glow gently in our hearts. May it light our paths as we leave this place. May it guide our way until we are together again. I love the kid noises. Beloveds, we are made for these times, and everything we need is within and among us. Never further away than the breath. Never further away than the breath. Those of you who are here in person, we have coffee hour downstairs, complete with birthday cake. Stan Smith brought a wonderful chocolate and lemon birthday cake, so you're going to want to go down for coffee and treats. Those of you who are online, again, you can stick around and visit with one another. Never further away than the breath. You're held in love. Go in peace. Come back next week.